like to introduce from NBC5, Miss Michelle Rutherford. Give her a big round of applause, y'all.
DJ Sean. Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. DJ Sean with that old school. I feel like I need to be like, C-walking. You gotta, come with something more current, like, I don't got no type. Hey, hey. Yeah, I'm a news reporter, but I ain't that old, y'all. How y'all doing? I see I have the distinguished gentleman of Urban Prep in front of me. I can recognize the ties. See, your reputation precedes you. What other schools do we have here? Did I hear Whitney Young? Oh. All right, all right. Well, all of you look great. I'm so happy to see so many beautiful young faces in the crowd. We're going to talk about some serious topics this afternoon, and I really hope that you guys absorb all of this. I mean, this is infotainment. We're going to do the D-Lo shuffle a little bit later on. Maybe I can learn a few steps. I'm not, bob to the right, bob to the left. I don't know. Y'all going to have to teach me that one. I have to catch up. But we want to learn some things too, and we want to address a very serious issue in Chicago. So I hope everybody here will be quiet, take everything in, and take it back to your communities, take it back to your homes, because we really want to change things in Chicago. I am a news reporter. I don't want to show up on any of your doorsteps, any of your parents' doorsteps, any of your schools with a cameraman and a microphone asking people to tell me about any one of you. What was he like? What did she like to do? What do you think went wrong? It happens every day, and I'm tired of seeing mothers crying, and fathers, and sisters and brothers. I don't want to lose anybody in this room. So let's try and do something positive today, all right? Yes? Okay. So, again, I am Michelle Rutherford. I am from Chicago, South Side, Wild Hunters, yes. So you see, you can do anything. I didn't come from Naperville. I didn't come from Bolingbrook. I didn't come from Barrington. I came from the South Side of Chicago. Yes. I went to Whitney Young High School. I went to UConn for college. And now I'm back here working for NBC5. Yes. So we are here today because I believe that we can stop the violence and we really can make a difference. Our city is facing a huge problem, you guys. More of you, young people, die on the streets of Chicago than soldiers dying in Iraq. So we have to do something to solve this problem, and I believe that you guys have the answers to curing the violence. This conversation kicks off an ongoing dialogue that we want you to have, like I said, not just today, but beyond what happens here at Governor State University. We want you to go on Facebook. We want you to email. We want you to tweet. I know y'all like Twitter. Everybody got a Twitter page. Everybody got Instagram. Yes. So put your comments. Tell us what you thought. Tell us what you learned today. Take it out to your community. We want you to tweet us your comments at @respond2v, or you can also visit our website, respondtoviolence.com. So we have an amazing lineup for all of you today, so we want to go ahead and get the conversation started. So, first up, we have GSU's theater and media students under direction of Professor Tony Labriola. They will perform from the book, How Long Will I Cry? It is a compilation of stories written by DePaul University's creative writing students. All right, a lot of shout outs for DePaul under the leadership of Professor Miles Harvey. So pay attention, you guys. Right now, you are about to hear the stories of 3 real people. This is not fiction, in their own words, and it's performed in Reader's Theater style, with several voices contributing to each individual tale about 3 people from our neighborhoods whose lives have been forever changed by the violence in our streets. Enjoy.
My grandmother, Carrie Winters, was born and raised in Mississippi. After her parents passed on, she moved to Chicago.
She wanted to find work, and she wanted to make a better life for her children. She worked all these odd jobs just to make a way for her kids, 2 to 3 jobs at a time.
A lot of my grandmother's kids strayed off, a majority of her kids, honestly. Some of them were alcoholics.
Some were drug addicts like my mother, Raquel.
My grandmother raised me.
My mother had 9 kids.
And my grandmother had custody of all of them, plus maybe 10 to 15 of my cousins. My grandmother reached out and took care of kids that weren't even hers. She never closed the door on anybody.
Including her own kids who, didn't fulfill their parent responsibilities.
I never even heard my grandmother talk down about anybody, no matter what. My brother, my mother's firstborn child, his name was Lamont.
Lamont started out in the gang when he was about 13. He was heavily involved, heavily. He did a lot of negative things, lived a very dangerous life, and it caught up with him.
I was 10 years younger than him. I knew that he would only be going out one way.
Through the jail or, dead.
I think about the day when he walked up to the car and said,
"When I die, I want to be buried right here in front of this house."
He lived to see about 2 or 3 more days.
And then he was dead.
People said that he had killed somebody a week before that.
After that, he had been wearing a bulletproof vest for a week, but then to just take it off?
Why was he wearing that bulletproof vest all the time? And he all of a sudden took it off?
I was in the 6th grade when it happened. Me and Shavante were hanging out and watching TV, and I had fallen asleep. Then she was shaking me.
Wake up, wake up. I just heard gunshots. Gunshots in our neighborhood was like hearing an ice cream truck, as sad as that is to say.
I got outside, and my mom's all broke down and fell out. And the mother of Lamont's kids is out there crying and laying in the street. And my sister's crying, and my cousin's crying. So I knew something had to happen to someone close.
These 2 boys came up through the empty lot next to our house and shot Lamont at close range.
About 15 times. About 15 times. About 15 times. 15.
15. My uncle had gotten his pickup truck and put my brother in the back of it. There was a hospital up the street from us, and my uncle was just speeding.
I'm guessing my uncle already knew he was dead, but he still wanted to try and revive him.
I was just so happy that my mom and family didn't do what some people do when they get on the TV news and act like their kids are innocent. My mom didn't do any of that. I'm sad to say I lost a brother, but it's just so much more than that. I'm sure that if he would have lived and been caught,
he would have served time for more than just the murder. I'm sure they would have found all these guns and probably drugs.
My cousin Andre was following in Lamont's footsteps because he was gangbanging so early.
And then, when he was 17, the same thing happened to him as Lamont. Some boys came up to the exact same lot and they shot Andre at close range.
Our other cousin Philip was killed the year before Andre.
So it was every year we lost someone.
It was emotional thing after emotional thing.
A lot of death.
A lot of death.
A lot of death.
A lot of death.
And my grandmother was still standing at the top of us all. She raised them. She raised them all. And then to have to constantly bury them year after year, everybody would look at her and say, "You are so strong."
My cousin Shavante and I went to an all-girls Catholic high school through a residential scholarship program that Maryland had set us up with. I wanted to go to college eventually. In my neighborhood, some people barely make it to high school, so you know how hard it is to go to college. I ended up running for class president my senior year. So by me having a top position in the school, I was the first to come out on graduation day. Graduation hadn't started before I started crying. When I got my diploma, I just stood on stage like graduation was all about me. I raised my diploma, and my mother was the main one that I looked at.
She had been in jail for most of my 8th grade, and none of her daughters had even gotten a diploma. She was doing hard drugs like crack, heroin, cocaine, stuff like that.
I often see her, but she'd be hanging outside on the corner with the other drug addicts. It was like she'd rather spend more time with them than me. And I always wondered if I did something wrong.
Now, I know she had to take time to better herself. And when she was ready, not because everyone else wanted her to.
Since my junior year of high school,
My mother has been doing good and has stayed clean.
I wasn't always proud to say, that's my mother, because I see all the other kids with nice mothers with the nice clothes and shoes and a job and everything. Today, I am proud. I say, that's my mother.
Her name is Raquel.
That's who brought me into this world, and I love her unconditionally. Her proudest moment was being at my high school graduation and being able to say,
I'm here, I'm clean, I'm a mother, and I've changed.
looking back, I would have never thought I'd even make it to high school because of where I live
And
all the people I have lost. I've still never met anybody like my grandmother. I was 17 when she passed away, and it was like Rosa Parks had died or something. I would give it all up if she could be here right now, but I know that she sees what I'm doing, and I know she's proud. That's why when I'm done getting my bachelor's degree, I'm moving to get my master's degree, so she can say,
Everything she's doing, I taught her that, and she hasn't given up yet.
People try to say that you can do anything you want in this country. And it's true that for some people that does happen.
But for a lot of people, it doesn't.
Elgin, the town where I grew up, is one of the bigger suburbs of Chicago. It's not the most affluent of suburbs, but you're not living in the inner city.
It's diverse.
It's very diverse. Racial ethnic diversity, but also socioeconomic diversity.
My parents were Mexican immigrants.
They didn't speak English when they first moved here.
My mother worked in a factory.
And my dad worked in construction.
Sometimes discrimination could be bad in Elgin. You would hear stories about people saying mean things to Mexican Americans, just very overt. Even when the animosity wasn't blatant, there were definitely microaggressions. But my parents were like,
Sometimes people will have negative perceptions of you because of your heritage, but you just have to keep working hard.
I also took part in a high school program called Upward Bound, which gave me the tangible skills you need so that you can get into college. I mean, there's just so much that you don't know.
When your parents don't go to college.
It's difficult to even articulate it, but fortunately, there were people around me who had high expectations for me. But how many other kids like me get lost? I met Frankie at the end of our sophomore year at DePaul. We were applying for the study abroad program, and I just started talking to him.
And he was like, oh, what are you doing at school?
And I just told him, the standard. I'm a psychology major, and I'm, whatever.
And he was like, oh, I want to be mayor. I want to change Chicago politics.
Which was kind of cool, Some people thought I was
Frankie's girlfriend and blah, blah, blah.
But it wasn't like that. He really was just a friend. We went to a lot of cultural events at DePaul.
Like, oh, there's this speaker coming.
Or this poet.
Or this author.
Or anything like that.
We try and go together and ask tough questions and probably discuss it afterwards.
Nerdy fun.
Frankie was a dreamer, but he also did things. It wasn't just, oh, this is what I think. He engaged with people. He was active. He was doing things like volunteering for an organization that helps low-income preschool kids with literacy and other skills.
After a while, he and I began to share a dream about improving our education system and breaking the cycle of inequality from one generation to another. See, I was passionate about research.
And Frankie was passionate about politics.
So our dream was that I would come up with some kind of research that would be useful in making the education system better.
And then Frankie would implement it.
For Halloween, Frankie and I were like, let's do something. And a few days before Halloween, my friends from Elgin had posted a message on Facebook.
They had rented a ginormous house in Humboldt Park weekend, and they were having this party.
We were planning just to say hi to people at the party, and then we were going to go hang out with his family. We walked in, and it felt like Elgin High School because everyone looked familiar. It was mostly Latino kids. People were kind of shocked that I was there because I didn't really go out often. So it was like,
whoa, it's crazy that you're here. How cool.
And stuff. And this whole time,
Frankie was with me, so I just kept introducing him to people. There was a dance floor, and people were dancing.
it seemed like a nice house, but it wasn't really until my friends started giving us a tour that it was like,
Oh, okay. This is a really expensive house. This is a luxurious house. Look at that indoor waterfall.
when we were on the tour, 3 guys from the neighborhood tried to get into the party. And I guess when they came in, they got kicked out. On the tour, it was just me and Frankie and...
My friend Manny. Then Manny, he got a phone call from another friend who was waiting outside and needed somebody to let him in the front gate.
So the three of us went outside. There was a gangway on the side of the house, and this whole time...
Frankie was behind me.
So Manny opened the gate,
and
we were walking back in.
And that's when it happened. I heard 4 or 5 pops.
And Manny yelled, "Oh shit!"
I threw myself to the ground, and when I got up, my neck just felt numb. So I grabbed it, and I was like, oh man, I probably fell to the ground too fast, and I sprained my neck or something. And then I saw my hand, and I was like, oh man, somebody got shot. Somebody splashed blood on my hand. And then I was like, oh, it's me. The bullet came in through the back of my neck and then came out through the front on the left-hand side. And I don't know, maybe because I had already survived a couple of crazy car accidents, I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I was like, this was gonna be a tedious deal, trying to explain this to my family that I was at a party.
And Frankie was sitting near me on the side of the house. I guess I kind of assumed that he had been shot.
But I thought, I'm okay, he'll be okay. And then the police came, and I just walked over to the ambulance and I kept asking them, is he gonna be okay? Just to make sure. Is he gonna be okay? Is he going to be okay?
They were like, we're gonna do the best we can. And then they put him in the ambulance.
And I didn't see him again. A friend visited me in the ER. It was 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
And she was like, oh, I just came to check up on you.
And I was like, I'm fine. I don't care. As long as Frankie's okay. I just want him to be okay. Because I hadn't heard anything.
And that's when she told me that.
You didn't make it.
After she left, I was by myself. So I was just alone with that. Back in the ambulance, I remember after I was shot, I kept trying to explain to people, me and Frankie are not involved in gangs. This is not why that happened to us. We go to DePaul. Yes, we're Latinos, but you know, give us a chance.
And that's when the paramedic was like, you're probably just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's just a bad neighborhood with bad kids.
And I was like, no. Humboldt Park is not a bad neighborhood. Why do these kids have access to guns? And to this day, I have a really hard time thinking about the guys who shot us. I kind of just feel like they're a part of the system that turned them into this, you know? So it took me a long time to view them as, you made this choice, and because of your choice, my friend is no longer here. The funeral and the memorial service were hard. I just felt guilty. I was the last person he was with.
And he didn't know anyone at this party.
Except for me, so I felt like it was my fault. The scar on the front of my neck was swollen, kind of 3D, but now it's pretty much flattened out. I have a big laugh, and if I find something really funny, I tilt my head back, and that's when people see it. I like scars because I think they tell a story, and this one, it's bittersweet, but it also tells the story of my friend. My friend who I was able to dream with. My friend who I hope for a better future with. And I think that that makes it beautiful.
Deshaun McKnight, like walking through Baghdad. What I remember from being little is gunshots every night. Being in the house before the streetlights come on, because that's when all the action happens.
Don't stray too far from the block.
It was like my childhood was contained. I couldn't go to the park, hang out at the park, play at the park with all the other kids. I couldn't do that.
That's in the enemy's territory.
When you hear gunshots, the first thing they tell you is get on the floor.
And they cut all the lights off.
I don't know why they cut all the lights off.
In case a bullet came through the window.
But like one day, when I was 9 or 10,
Me and my mom were watching TV in the front room, and we heard gunshots. So she instantly pushes me on the floor, and she runs to the back to make sure all the other kids are on the floor. But while she was doing that,
I creep to the window and peek out, and I just see like
a guy on this side of the street and a guy on the other side of the street.
I just see them like shooting at each other. Shooting at each other. Then I see more guys run out, shooting.
More guys from the other side coming out, shooting.
then the police came on the block.
And I just see my older cousin running.
He running upstairs, and then he get in the hallway, and he fall because he got shot in his leg. And then he got shot in his ear, and there's just blood everywhere.
That shocked me. You see all the blood. You see how much pain he in. And you like,
This is a grown man. He's right here. He sounds like he's crying.
So you don't want that.
you scared.
You don't know what'll happen to you if you go outside.
After that, I was just more cautious. I was suspicious of everybody.
I was basically paranoid.
I'm still like that now, but when I was little, it was even worse. I got a gun when I was 13. The chiefs of the block, the upper generals of the block, they buy the guns. And as soon as you walk out there on the street, they're gonna tell you that you're gonna need one.
They say, you protected?
And you be like, no.
And they be like, hold up. And they give you their gun.
It's that simple.
I used to keep it in a shoebox, or then had got me like a tackle box, like a fish tackle box. I put a lock on it because I know my little brothers come in my room to play. And I would slide it under the far end of my bed and throw some clothes on top of it to make it look like my room was junky or something. I was basically dragged into gangbanging because
You related to this person, and they in the gang, their enemies are gonna assume that you're in the gang too.
like so you get forced into it and you gotta protect yourself somehow.
You're out there alone.
You're out there
You're
alone.
out there
You're
alone.
out there alone. You're out there alone.
You're out there alone.
You're out there alone. The area I live in has always been rough.
Like there's more gun violence,
More gang violence.
drug violence,
People getting beaten half to death.
Or
beaten to death.
I don't know why. It's just been like that all these years. When I walk at night,
It's like walking through Baghdad.
you don't know when somebody might pop out or shoot at you. This one time, a bullet came to my grandma's house, missed 2 inches from my head, hit the couch pillow. They come, they shoot, and then we go back and shoot at them.
Nobody knows what the original argument is.
It's been like that for years.
Since my mom lived there, nobody on this side of the street likes that side.
The police can't help that much.
It's got to be an internal thing for you to have your own change. Because if you don't
Because if you
change,
don't
If you don't
who's
change,
going to
Because if
change?
you don't
who's going to
change-
Because if you don't
Who's
change,
going
If you
to
don't
change?
change,
Who's going
who's going to change?
because if you don't change, who's going to change? You got to set an example for somebody. I didn't have a lot of examples of my own.
All the dads in my family are either dead, in jail, or they hang around in gangs. It's like no real fathers around, just mostly stepfathers.
My brother,
His dad got killed.
that was my stepfather. That was who I called my dad.
He got killed.
My little brother, my youngest brother.
His dad's engaged to my mom, so he's around.
But my other little sister, we share the same dad.
He's not around.
One of my cousins,
His daddy's in jail.
his brother's dad lives in Atlanta.
He's a deadbeat.
His older brother,
His dad's in jail.
and my cousin,
His dad's in jail. His dad's a deadbeat.
just like mine.
That's
something all of us have in common.
We joke about it.
We joke like, daddies ain't nothing.
We be laughing about it, but we're not really laughing.
We're just expressing ourselves to each other.
We don't want to seem like a bunch of wimps. We're telling each other,
You're not alone in this.
I don't want my daughter to feel like she's alone in the world. I want to be there when she needs me. I know how it felt to not have a father, and my biggest fear is that I fail her. So, I got my diploma in 2010.
I hate when you see someone fighting for their goals, for what they want to be.
And then they die or something bad happens to them.
Broken dreams.
Like, they dreams was broken.
And other people see that.
And they'll be like,
Don't let that happen to me. And I'm like, what should I fight for? What goals should I set for myself besides staying alive?
I feel like I just have to take life day by day.
How many days can I get out of it?
Nowadays, people my age, they don't live that long.
People who aren't from here don't have no clue about how intense it is. They're going to go by what they see on TV and what they read in the paper. But to really understand how intense the violence is, you got to be living in it. You got to be part of the danger.
You got to be part of the danger. You got to be part of the danger.
You got to be part of the
You got to
danger.
be part of the danger.
You got to be part of the danger. This performance is dedicated to those who died and those who are still bleeding.